The inherent quest for any people, for any society, is survival and sustainability. And from where I sit, many nations today are struggling with survival and sustainability. They are not sure that 50, 100, 200 years, the society will still be there and moving on. And that's where the struggle is, and that's where the anxiety, the insecurity is coming from. And lastly, even as we contextualize this national interest, we must also zero in to what is it at the individual level that provides either security or insecurity of the human being. Because, in my view, what we all aspire for is freedom from fear that someone will harm you or harm your property or harm your other interests, and freedom from want. I have challenged colleagues in the legal profession, including judges, that we've come a long way and we've made huge progress in asserting the place of human liberty. We've come a long way in asserting the place of women. If you compare where East Africa and Africa is today and 30 years ago, we have made good progress in terms of asserting the place of women, creating equality, and protecting vulnerable sections of our society. Kenya stands ready to work hand in hand with all judiciaries across the region to bring these commitments to life. We firmly believe that hard working together, harnessing and sharing our experiences, we can build judicial systems that listen to our citizens, represent their dignity, and deliver justice fairly and expeditiously. Ultimately, the future we envision for East Africa is not only about expanding markets, building highways, or deepening intergovernmental relations. It's about cultivating shared values anchored in fairness, dignity, and institutional integrity. Justice is the glue that binds societies and the foundation on which peaceful, prosperous, and united communities are built. By embracing multidor justice, we transform our judiciaries from bottlenecks into accelerators of progress, from distant arbiters into community partners, and from symbols of exclusion into instruments of inclusion. This is the justice that traders need to advance commerce, that women need to secure equality, that youth need to imagine peaceful futures, and that our region needs to realize the aspirations of shared prosperity. Colleagues, one, we must demystify the justice system and make it accessible and acceptable to as many citizens of our region and our countries as possible. Two, as we pursue alternative, the multidor justice pathways, we should not compromise on fairness and other fundamentals, including the quality of justice that is delivered even through those alternative processes. Thirdly, is that through judicial decision-making process and judicial dispute resolution processes, we must carry the national interests with us. And I think that's what Chief Justice Martha Koome was trying to illustrate. It is not enough to make a decision. That decision must help carry the sustainability of the nation along. Because a decision can help or even undo in terms of preserving the continuity of the nation. I am delighted to join you here at the 2025 East African Magistrates and Judges Association Conference, a gathering that brings together the region's judicial minds and justice reform champions. This annual regional forum is a collective reaffirmation of our shared conviction that justice is the lifeblood of both national development and regional integration. This year's theme, Justice Beyond Brick and Mortar, Unlocking Multidor Pathways for People-Centered Justice in East Africa, reflects a powerful and timely shift in thinking about justice reforms, that justice must evolve, expand, and adapt if it is to meet the needs of our citizens in an era defined by rapid economic change, demographic transformation, and the deepening of regional ties. Judges, magistrates, judicial officers occupy the driver's seat in providing the software that runs nations. You can build roads, connect people with electricity, build airports, like we want to do, because we have realized we are doing well in many things, but we don't have a good airport. So in the next 2 months, we are starting to build a modern airport, because the one that exists there was built by our forefathers. Next time you come in Nairobi, you'll find something different. So, but you can do all that, but all that infrastructure, including the expressways, can be undermined by the fragility that comes with certain national interests being overstretched. So things like national security, things like national cohesion, and I dare say things like justice and fairness may not be infrastructure, but they are good software upon which the foundation of our respective nations is built. So as a judicial officer, you are expected therefore to contextualize your decision in the manner and style of incorporating national interest, so to speak. Across East Africa, too many of our people still experience formal courts as distant, slow, costly, or intimidating spaces. Even the Chief Justice has admitted here that we are all intimidated. Even those of us who are lawyers and judges, the courtroom disorients us. How much so for the citizen who is pursuing some issue, and they are from a corner there, and this is their first experience before a judge or a magistrate. For millions, especially women, youth, small entrepreneurs, and rural communities, the justice system appears more like a fortress than a support structure. The consequences are profound. Disputes linger unresolved, economic opportunities are stifled, social tensions simmer, and public trust in state institutions weaken. When justice is inaccessible, development stalls, inequality widens, and the promise of the rule of law becomes hollow. Our judicial systems must therefore function not as barriers, but as open doorways through which fairness, dignity, and economic opportunity can flow to every corner of our region. It is in response to these realities that our judiciaries have increasingly embraced multi-door approaches to justice. Mechanisms such as the alternative justice systems, AJS, court and mediation, small claims courts, and restorative justice processes reflect a growing recognition that justice cannot be confined to stone buildings or rigid procedures. It must instead travel to where the people live, work, trade, and build families. These pathways offer quicker, more affordable, and culturally informed avenues for resolving disputes, enabling justice systems to adapt to the lived experiences of our diverse populations. They reaffirm the basic truth, which is justice must not only be done, but must be felt by our citizens as accessible, humane, and relevant. Africa, East Africa, and Kenya is no exception, still suffers from identity issues. And we are yet to canvass and aggregate our interests as individuals, communities, and nations to other equally important things than just identity. There's community, there's religion. And many of the African countries, and I'm not naming any, that are not doing so well as they should be doing is because of the pullback by issues around identity. I want to challenge you as thought leaders and the conveyors of justice to start helping us in your decisions, in your philosophy, in your lawmaking and interpretation process on how we can balance these very difficult issues around identity with equally more important priorities like interests. In other words, an average African citizen, what is more important? Is it the language they speak, the mother tongue they speak, or is it the life-sustaining prosperity issues that we should embrace to empower that person? In other words, many of our countries are struggling because of these issues around identity, ethnic, religious. And we've spent a lot of time trying to defeat those vices, and we should continue. But equally important, as judges, magistrates, thought leaders, help us to start canvassing how we can create new identities, not around ethnicity and religion and language, but we can create new identities around interests. A functioning justice system is the operating system of any economy. When disputes resolution is slow and unpredictable, it weakens the legal foundations of commerce. It freezes capital and undermines property rights. The Kenyan experience illustrates the reality vividly. In the 2024-2025 financial year, 621,425 cases were filed, and our courts resolved an impressive 647,686, achieving a 104% case clearance rate. However, these achievements occurred against a backdrop of 490 pending matters at the end of the financial year, which, with just about 700 judges and magistrates serving a nation of more than 55 million people, the average case can take 3 to 5 years to conclude, far beyond the statutory timelines and public expectations. This pattern is not unique to Kenya. It is mirrored across the East African region, where rising population, increasing commercial activity, and limited judicial capacity combine to create structural pressures. Behind these statistics are real people whose ambitions and livelihoods hang in the balance. A commercial dispute unresolved for years equates to capital frozen in litigation rather than circulating in the economy to create jobs and support innovation. A delayed land case denies a farmer credit, security, or inheritance stability. A prolonged family matter leaves women and children in agonizing uncertainty. In aggregate, this represents a silent tax on development, one disproportionately borne by the very groups our development agenda seeks to uplift. It is precisely, colleagues, this human cost that Multidor justice seeks to address by providing simpler, faster, and more accessible mechanisms that free up economic potential and restore confidence in the rule of law.